What's happened, Elliot? We went through Communico, which is supposed to just require a link, and instead it's asking for a passcode as well. We do have a few people here though, and we are recording, so I think we ought to go ahead with the program, if that's okay with you, Bob and Kathy.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So we are delighted to have Bob and Kathy here tonight. They are avid bird watchers, and they're going to talk to us tonight about spring birds.
Okay. Well, Bob and I,
Oh, wait. Sorry, I have to make you co-hosts.
oh, okay.
So you can share your screen.
Okay, well, we're glad to be here. We'd rather be in person. And those that have seen us before know we love birds. We like to take pictures of birds. We like to share our love of birds with everybody. So we've developed a program. I'll bring up the program.
Sure.
It's called Spring Birds. And
Don't I have to click in somewhere else?
Yep. Click there. All right, and so the program is called Spring Birds. Go to the first slide.
But Bob, this isn't spring.
Well, spring has to start sometime.
We're not on, there's people not here.
So it's, hopefully you can, Janet, if you're not getting us, call us.
No, we're not seeing the pictures. We're seeing you guys.
Yeah, something, we didn't click in right on something.
Oh,
Wait a sec.
share Zoom.
Yeah, just a minute.
Well,
I don't know how to get out. You had to get off yellow.
hi, Janet.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Where?
Right here.
Oh,
Now we got it.
oh. I'll bring it up. Let's start again. This is a comedy of errors. Just over there, please start. Okay, so hopefully you're gonna, do you see everything now?
Yes.
Okay.
You can hear us? All right.
Yes.
All right, so we're on our way. You want to hit that up there for one? Yeah, there we
Okay.
go. And so start.
Let's start over.
Let's start over. It's spring.
And we love to share things about nature and birds with everyone. So we put this program together. Bob has taken all these pictures, and we hope that you will enjoy what we see during spring. Bob, that doesn't have anything to do
Well,
with spring.
Spring has to start someplace. So here is a typical winter in northern Illinois, right? But the snow melts. And as the snow melts, it goes into temporary ephemeral ponds, ephemeral meaning very temporary, that they're going to dry up. But if you look around the ephemeral pond, you see all kinds of things.
Like here, this is the first spring plant that will actually come up. It's called skunk cabbage, and it actually generates its own heat, and it melts the snow around it as it starts to grow, grows a little taller, and then it eventually forms this spathe. And this actually gives it its name because it does give off an odor, so it's skunk cabbage.
Is it a sweet odor?
It's a skunky
It's
odor.
a skunky odor that's going to attract the first bugs that are out.
Right.
Mother Nature knows what to do. Now,
Oops.
here's a call you should know. Now, we start with the cardinal, northern cardinal, because he's been singing his song for a long time. He was one of the first ones in April to start singing the spring song. And we really love cardinals, state bird of Illinois. And cardinals have been coming to our feeders, but they're here all year round.
Now Bob's going to give a little quiz because we're going to play a sound for you to see if you know what this bird is.
You know what the bird is?
Pharaoh?
American robin. Good guess though.
Oh,
American robin. And the robins we always think of as being the first birds of spring, but many of them stay around here all winter as long as they can get food and water. So here's a little robin sitting in a tree. Obviously it's still winter time, and they changed their diets from earthworms to fruit.
Because there's no earthworms. And this is the dark-eyed junco. Dark-eyed junco, they tell us things. They tell us when winter's coming and they tell us when spring's coming. Because in like
October.
October-ish, they'll start showing up from the north. They come and spend their winter with us. And when they come down, the warblers disappear. Well, then in about April, they disappear. They go back north and the warblers come to visit us from the south. And we love that. I don't know if it's because the warblers and the juncos don't like each other, or
No,
maybe it's just a different time thing.
it's just the time. We call him the harbinger of spring and of fall, and then he leaves in the spring. Here are some pictures of teal, which are duck-like birds. On the left, we have the green-winged teal that has a reddish head with that green line through it. Also notice this little triangular white at the back. Then there's also the blue-winged teal. And you can recognize them or identify them by that crescent along the beak and also that small little white patch at the rear. And the green-winged teals seemingly have moved on. They come in early in the spring and then they move farther north. Blue-winged teal do as well, but some of them have sticked around. We see some of them on the rivers right now.
Yeah. This is a ring-necked duck. The ducks come through early in April, so almost all the ducks have migrated through. But if you're a birder, you're out there January, February, you're out there all the time. Guess as our job in retirement is to bird watch. So she drags me out every morning to go look for birds, but the ducks are I've already gone through. The ring-necked duck, I think it should be called a ring-billed duck because that white ring around the male. It does have a ring around the neck. If you have got a dead one in your hand, you pull its head up, you can see a brown ring, but not many people do that.
I also think it could be called the Nike bird because look at this little Nike stripe on the side.
Yeah.
But it's a ring-necked duck. And a duck with a red head is called a redhead. It's entirely red head, black chest, kind of grayish white back. They came early, were here for a short time, and then moved on farther north.
Have you seen?
And one of our beautiful, beautiful ducks, this is a wood duck. It's a male wood duck. Here's a picture of the female. He obviously is prettier than she is.
Oh, she's cute too, though. Look
She
at-
is cute. Look at
look at
that
that
teardrop around
teardrop.
her eye. But look at the colors of him. They've come back. They about 3 or 4 weeks ago, they started showing up and they're courting now. It's interesting to be out and watch the male try and entice the female. And they do nest in trees. So once they find a cavity in a tree, they'll lay their eggs in the cavity and take care of their young.
This is an interesting bird. This is the American woodcock. Notice the long pointed bill. And interesting enough, just they can open just the tip of their bill. So when they're probing in the ground to get food, they can grab a little worm or a critter in the ground by just opening the tip of that bill. Also notice their eyes are pretty far back on their head, which makes it very easy to see predators while they're feeding. They can keep their eyes open and watch what's going on around them.
Because the bill is straight down. And they've got another interesting thing, don't
They
they?
do, Bob. Tell them about the sky dance.
Well, they've got a sky dance. Aldo Leopold wrote a book, Sand County Almanac, quite a few years ago. And he wrote about the sky dance of the woodcock. And in April, they started in March this year, but generally through April, the male will be on his breeding spot in a grassy field. He'll go peent, peent, and he'll turn in a circle as he goes peent, peent, and then he'll fly up about 350 feet up in an elliptical pattern. He'll fly up, and as he's flying up, he'll give a twitter, 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 twitter sound. Well, the sound comes from the first 3 feathers of its wings, so it twitters. And then it falls out of the sky like a leaf, and it will fly right back to where it took off from. And if he's lucky, there's a female there, they mate. She goes off and takes care of the young and the nest, and he goes peent, peent, twitter, 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 twitter. Does that coming down. And he'll do that the whole month of April. Boy, talk about being excited. We go out, they do that at sunset.
Yes. I was
So
gonna
we go
say.
out at about a little after sunset to hear them. But I think you're all done now. He's tired.
Here is a kinglet. This one is the golden crown kinglet. This is the female actually, because she has gold on top of her head. The male has more orange color. And as you can see, he's on snow. So they can be found here during the winter, and they stay somewhat in the spring, but right now they have moved on to nest further north. Also, there's the cousin, which is the ruby crown kinglet. Only the male has the little ruby crown on the top of his head, but you can identify it by that little eye circle and also the two wing bars. And ruby crown kinglets move continually. They never stop. They're just busy little birds. They're tiny. And the ruby crown has a very interesting sound. What does it sound like, Bob?
It sounds like it goes rolling on and on and on and on. For such a little bird, he is very vocal.
Here, I'm going to play it for you.
It goes on and on and on. Here's one of everybody's favorite birds. I bet if you've got bad feedback, bird feeders up, you love these guys, right? No, not. This is a common grackle. When they come back in the spring, they don't come back in onesie twosies. They come back in 30s and 40s, and they'll descend on our backyard and just eat everything. Whatever they don't eat, they throw on the ground. They don't care. But look at that bird. He's got a bright yellow eye. He's got, the males have an iridescent green, blue head. Females don't have that. But they're setting up territory. They're back for the summer to have babies.
And of course, the same with the red-winged blackbird, which I'm sure everyone can identify. Black with that beautiful red patch on his shoulder. This one is displaying his feathers because he's either establishing his territory, or he's trying to attract a female. And I love their song because I feel like they say, "Look at me, look at me." And this is the female, who looks entirely different. She's brown. She has wide brown stripes on her chest and a little white eyeline to help identify her as the female red-winged blackbird. And it's nice that she has this coloring because she can be very camouflaged on her nest. And they tend to nest low in the grass or grassy area or in cattail marsh. And so she can be very camouflaged on that nest.
And the males will come up about 2 weeks before the females. So they come up, establish territory, and then she comes up and picks out the best looking male to mate with.
Mhm.
And here's a bird called, what would you call a sparrow with a white throat? Of course, you'd call it a white-throated sparrow, yes. Well, look at, he does have a white throat, but look at his stripes on his head, and he's got that big yellow patch right in front of his eyes. Well, when you're describing bird songs, you put a mnemonic device, like what the red-winged blackbird says, "Look at me, look at me." Well, you either describe it as a mnemonic device or it sounds like it sounds like a ping pong ball dropping on a table. Well, the mnemonic device for the white-throated sparrow, and we're hearing this now because they're migrating through the woodlands. The mnemonic device is, "Poor Sam, Peabody, Peabody, Peabody." If you're a birder, you got an imagination. You have to have it. But poor Sam, Peabody, Peabody, Peabody.
Here, I'll play it for you. Oops.
I can hear the Peabody, Peabody, Peabody. And now we're going to go through the woods because this looks like spring, doesn't it?
It does, and you can listen and you can hear all those bird calls. And if there's no birds to look at, you look at what you can around you to enjoy nature. This happens to be turkey tail fungus. It does have that shape of a turkey
And
tail.
it's got the stripes like a turkey tail.
It does.
Properly named.
And remember that skunk cabbage I showed you that was peeking through the snow? Right now, it looks like big cabbage leaves.
Does it stink? And in the spring, you get what are called ephemeral flowers. Ephemeral flowers, just like ephemeral ponds, they're there just for a very short period of time. Well, what's there for a very short period of time are the petals. This is bloodroot. Bloodroot, if you look at the leaves sort of wrap around the stem. Let's look at the flower pretty closely. So that flower is going to be there only for a short period of time. These flowers bloom when there's no leaves on the trees and the sunlight can hit the forest floor. They'll come out, they'll attract insects, they'll produce seeds, and then the flowers fall down And the leaves will be there all summer, but the flowers, the blooms are gone.
While we were out looking for birds, we saw somebody watching us. Look at this adorable raccoon up in the tree.
Adorable.
He is
raccoon.
adorable.
He's cute, yes.
This is adorable.
That's adorable. Here's a fawn that came out of the shrubs, and he saw us. I took one picture and I was going to take another one, and he disappeared. I think he went back to his mama and said, I saw these two-legged things with binoculars. What could they be? And the mama would say, stay away from him. They're going to cause trouble.
Maybe. Here's another spring ephemeral plant. This one is called Dutchman's Breeches. It does have little white flowers that look like little pants, little breeches. And the leaves of the plant itself are very fern looking.
And prairie trillium. This is an ephemeral plant, pretty tall plant. It has leaves of 3, just like poison ivy, but it's not poison ivy. And also the petals are in 3. And these guys will be up for a while, and the petals will all disappear.
I love this one too, because this is called Trout Lily. And you can see the little flower, the white flower here with the petals that point upward. But notice the leaves of the plant. It's very modeled like a trout. That's where the plant got its name. So let's look further for some birds, Bob.
Well, if you come to a stream, you stop at the top of the stream and you scan the edges with your binoculars, because you never know what you're going to find.
Well, this particular day, we found this guy. This is a gray-cheeked thrush. Now, robins are thrush, so it has the same shape as the robin, but notice the different coloring. It has spots on its chest, and it does have a gray cheek. And it's very secretive. We don't see a lot of these.
I think we should quiz these people when we get done. Maybe not. This is a rose-breasted grosbeak. They come to our feeders, and they've been coming to our feeders. This is the male, here's the female. They've been coming to our feeders for the last week. They showed up. Look at the rosy chest he's got and a white belly. And she looks like a sparrow on steroids. A really large bird, big beak, but it has a big white line over the eye to help identify her.
And of course, I love the Baltimore Oreo, and they are coming to our feeders right now too. We put out grape jelly, and we put out some orange slices, and they've been coming to our feeders. Beautiful orange bird. Once they start nesting, they stop coming to the feeders. So it's only a short time, maybe 2 weeks at the most, and then we don't see them. They're here, and we know they're here because we see their nests. Their nests are those hanging baskets that you see in the trees when there's no leaves on the trees. But once they start nesting, they become much more secretive.
And
go
they
ahead.
feed their babies bugs, because bugs have more protein than jelly.
Yep.
And here's a yellow-bellied sapsucker. There is such a bird as a sapsucker, but you can identify the sapsucker because look at the white slash down the wing. Now look at the holes that they excavated in that tree. Well, he'll excavate those holes in that tree, and then he'll fly to another tree, excavate a ring of holes, go to another tree, excavate a ring of holes. And by the time he gets done, the sap is oozing out of these holes, and it attracts bugs. So he goes from one cafeteria to another because it attracts bugs, and maybe he eats the sap too. But he's all summer long, he goes from one cafeteria to another that he has excavated. Pretty smart.
And this is the red-headed woodpecker. It has the whole entire head is red. The body is black and white. And they have migrated in. They're only here during the spring and summer. We've been seeing a lot of them the past week. They've been showing up more this year than other years, I think, because it's a bird that there haven't been as many around because there's not as many dead trees as there used to be. They need those dead trees. And they like to be in what we call a savanna area where there's trees, but there's some open space. And that's where you would look for the red-headed woodpecker.
And they just come in. But these are the birds bird watchers go for during the spring, the warblers. About 34 species of warblers will come through our area during the spring migration, about a month in time. So we as birders get out and try to see how many we can get. Last year, because of COVID, we got 32, I think, something like that. We got a good number. But this is one of the first of the warblers that comes through. This is the palm warbler, red on top of his head, yellow chest. But the neat thing about the palm warbler, he pumps his tail as he's going through the trees. So if you're a bird watcher and you see a bird high in the trees doing this, pumping his tail, it's a palm warbler. Not all birds do that.
And Bob, you said because of COVID, we got a lot. That was because we had so much time to bird watch that we were out there all the time looking for these birds.
So we had somebody young with us that's got good eyes and good ears, and he pointed out some.
Right. Here's some more warblers that we've been wanting to see. This one on the left is the Cape May, bright yellow, black stripes, and has that red patch around the eye. And on the right, we did see one of these the other day. This is a Blackburnian warbler, and it has that flame-colored throat. And when you see this bird, you just get hungry to see more. He's so beautiful, especially if he's in the sunlight and that color just lights up so much.
Yeah. And a couple more, or another one. This is a Chestnut Cider warbler. This is the male with a chestnut going all the way down the side. There's a female, she's just got chestnut a little bit. But if you're a birder and you've got good ears or hearing aids, you listen to their call. And the mnemonic device for the Chestnut Cider warbler is please, please, please to meet ya. Please, please, please to meet ya.
So it's really important to start learning some of the bird calls, or at least identifying it as a warbler, because then you know where to look and you start, you hear them before you see them many times. This one is
a warbler?
No, it's not a warbler. This is the great horned owl. We saw one of these today, actually. Has those little feather tufts on top of the head that are not really ears. They're just feather tufts. His ears are on the side of his head. But the great horned owl actually starts nesting in January. And about this time of the year, this is what the babies look like.
The babies look like that. And they're doing what's called branching. They leave the nest and then they go back to the nest. And then they go out a little bit farther and then they come back to the nest. What happens often is one of the babies will misstep and fall from the nest onto the ground. And everybody goes, oh, what are we going to do? Let's take it to a rehabber. Well, no, you don't do that. These guys have been falling out of nests and falling out of trees for millennium. And so what they do, the babies will learn, they got talons, and they'll grab onto the tree and beat their wings and get up back to where the nest is. And besides that, mommy and daddy are watching. So if a cat came by and wanted to attack one of these babies, I think that cat would have some pretty aggressive parents looking after them. Mm-hmm. So these are baby great horned owls. Aren't they cute?
They are cute. This is a Scarlet Tanager, and they have arrived. We've seen maybe 2 of them already this spring. That bright, beautiful red coloring with the black wings, and the call helps us to look for it. We almost always hear the call first because the Scarlet Tanager is always at the top of the tree. And when you start looking, sometimes it's really hard to find a red bird in a green tree, but you just keep looking till you find it. And he says,
chipper.
Thank you, chipper. So you hear that, you start looking.
We should quiz you on songs.
I'm going to quiz you on songs.
That's true. I can't hear them. So these are a couple more ephemerals. This is a bellwort on the left. Bellwort, you can see the yellow petals are hanging down like a bell. And the one on the right is Spring Beauty. And it is a beautiful little plant. It's only a little guy, but I love the petals. The petals have those red lines. And somebody said, well, that's like a runway for a bug. That's the runway leading the bugs to where the nectar is. So they'll get on those leaves and go to where the nectar, and then they pollinate the spring beauties. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. One more is the May apple. And boy, there's a lot of May apples out there right now. They're like an umbrella leaf. And if there's only one umbrella leaf on a stem, it doesn't form the little apple. But if there's 2 leaves on there, then right in that center section, it'll start a blossom and then form a little seed pod that looks like an apple.
I tried to feed you those apples.
I would not eat those apples.
She wouldn't eat the apples.
No.
I wouldn't either. Here's one of the ephemerals that's in a twin leaf. It's a very desirable plant. It's very rare. It's only found in forests that have not been disturbed very much. and most of our forests have been disturbed. But if you look at the leaf, it looks like it's cut in half. That's where it gets the name twin leaf.
And on this sunny day, all the turtles emerged from the pond and came out to get a little sun.
You do that too.
I do.
You sit
yeah.
in the back porch.
How about this bird?
This bird is a solitary sandpiper. Solitary means they're typically by themselves. We've seen more solitary sandpipers this year than ever before. Why?
Yeah, why? Because the river has been so low that there's been so many edges and they like to walk along that edge. So we've just seen more solitaries this year than any other year.
Yeah, you can identify a solitary sandpiper by that eye ring, the speckled back, and look at the contrast between the wings and the belly. You come on a bird walk with us, we'll show you these guys.
But they won't be here long to
No,
be finding
they're
them.
migrating through.
Right. Another sandpiper is the spotted sandpiper. Obviously, it has spots on its chest, and it does kind of bob its tail as it walks along. So spotted sandpiper, and they too have been along the edge of the river more than we've ever noticed before.
I thought the rivers were high this year.
Here's a real beautiful bird. We saw one of these just this last weekend. This is a prothonotary warbler. Beautiful, beautiful little bird. One of the bigger warblers. But look at that yellow color and that dense black eye. Here's another picture showing one that's taken a bath. I think that's a female that's trying to look pretty for the males. Or maybe it's a male trying to look pretty for the females. I don't know. But look at the color, the slate gray back, and just a beautiful bird. And they've got a call that once you learn it, if you're walking in the woods, you hear it.
You know,
Yeah.
and you always find them along the water.
Yep.
Right. This one's peeking at us. This is a Canada warbler. If I show you the second picture, you can get a look at that black necklace that helps identify this. He also has a white eye ring. And this is one of the last warblers that will migrate through our area.
Because the warblers come through in waves. The palm warbler and yellow rumps come through in the first wave, beginning of April, and then beginning of April, and then some warblers will come through in the middle, and then near the end of April, May, the Canada warblers and some of his friends come through. So we get excited all spring long to go bird watching.
Mhm.
And there's a couple more on what do you call a warbler that's black and white? You call it a black and white warbler. And these guys go around the branches, very, very moving a lot. And on the right is a Magnolia Warbler. And I think he typifies warblers. Look at the color, yellow chest with black lines and the big white wing bar and the face patch. And they haven't shown up yet. At least we haven't seen them.
Right. This is a tree swallow. And the tree swallows, you see them a lot in the air as they're looking for insects. They eat on the wing while they're flying around over the river or over fields. And they look like little jet planes as they're flying along. Their wings are back. And they nest in nesting boxes or in holes in trees.
Here's another one of the swallows, but he doesn't have a white belly. He's got a tawny colored belly. But look at the two long forked tail. This is the barn swallow. They got their name properly because they do nest in eaves and barns, and they will nest if you live in the country. They'll nest under your eaves also. Very fast flyers, big mouths because they fly and eat, as Cass said, on the wing. So you have to have a big mouth if you're going to eat like that.
Mm-hmm. Now you probably know what this is. And in case you don't, I'm going to play a little sound here. Of course, Canada geese. We have a lot of Canada geese around. And right now we see a lot of them with babies, the little goslings. They're so sweet. But you can identify the Canada goose with that black neck and that white chin patch.
And if you golf, they're on a golf course. What do you call a blackbird with a yellow head? Of course, you call it a yellow-headed blackbird. Look at that guy. Look at him in flight. Look at that yellow head and black body and white wing patch. And there's no mnemonic device for the yellow-headed blackbird song. There's no way to say it sounds like, because just listen to it. It's really weird. Crazy.
Just noisy.
Yeah.
Here's a little duck-like bird, but it's a pied-billed grebe. Has a small head and a long neck, a circle around its bill, and they build their nests on little floating platforms to keep them away from predators. And another interesting fact about them is that the babies will ride on the back of the mom, which is really amazing to see.
Yeah, it's fun to see.
Mhm.
And if you're on a pond, you're going to see a green heron. They're typically on the edge of the pond looking for something to eat. They got an interesting feeding habit, don't they, Kath?
They do, because they're known as fishermen, because they will take a little twig or a leaf and they'll drop it onto the surface of the water. All the little critters underneath will come up to see what's moving the water, and the green heron has this banquet right in front of him. And this bird is the great egret. We've been seeing a lot of these down on the river, on the Fox River. Long, skinny neck, all white, long bill, and very stoic as they walk along the edge of the water. They nest in rookeries. Rookeries are where there's a lot of nests up in trees all in one area. And there's one in Aurora, I mean, not Aurora, North Aurora.
North Aurora. You know where Harner's is, right? Everybody knows where Harner's Bakery is. Well, if you walk up the bike path on the east side of the river from Harner's, halfway between Red Oak Nature Center and Harner's, you can see there's probably a dozen nests up in the tree with great blue herons and great egrets. It's quite amazing to see.
Mm-hmm.
And here's our bird called a sora. Sora is a member of the rail family, which is the third term in as a rail. He's compressed from side to side so we can walk in amongst the cattails and not be impeded. And they spend a lot of time in the cattails. I was lucky enough to get this one outside the cattails as he posed for a picture. And they've got a song that soars, but it soars in a downward direction. Just listen to it. And if you've been by a marsh, you've heard this guy called. We've heard that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, looks like another test. Let's see if you can tell me what this is.
I know.
Okay, Bob, what is it?
Look at them. Look at all of them. What do you think they are?
I think they are Sandhill Cranes.
They are Sandhill Cranes.
Sandhill Cranes migrate, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them pass through our area in the spring. And what you see is this long bird with the wings right in the middle, long, the neck outstretched on one side and the legs outstretched in the back. And they go out pretty much on the wind currents as they pass through. But some of them actually will stay here and nest here. So we do have some Sandhill Cranes that nest in our area.
And a bird called a killdeer. Killdeer are great because they say their name. They say killdeer, killdeer, kildee, kildee. But he's got black stripes across his chest and over his eye because he nests in that kind of a rocky area. And if a peregrine falcon were to fly over, he'd look down, those black lines break up the contour of the killdeer's body, so the killdeers can be pretty safe,
Camouflaged, yeah.
pretty camouflaged on the rocky area.
We saw one of these today, this beautiful eastern bluebird. That blue color is just beautiful. And the red chest and a white belly. Usually you have to go to an open area, a field area to find bluebirds.
And there are spring birds. These guys are just showing up now. This is the bobolink. Bobolink's black belly. The back has a mixture of white and black, and they used to be called the tuxedo birds once upon a time. And if you nest in the grass, you don't want to call from your grass area, so you go up on top of a sprig, or you fly way up in the air and you give your call. And our grandson made us happy because he said, that sounds like R2-D2, its call. So listen and see if you can hear the R2-D2 call.
Yeah.
Very robotic.
R2-D2 from Star Wars. Here's another bird of the field, and they are here. They have arrived for the spring. This is the eastern meadowlark, all yellow chest with that very black V to help identify it. And I love their call. It's just 4 notes, and it says, Bob is sweet to me. Bob is sweet to me.
Is that it?
Yeah.
4 notes. Saying Kathy's sweet to me.
Nice.
We're out looking, and look at that healthy looking coyote. You think he's bird watching?
He is. You know what he's looking for?
Hmm.
The ring-necked pheasant. We do have some of these in our area. Usually we hear them more than we see them, but they are around. Long tail, beautiful coloring. Look at that beautiful red on his face. And usually you find them in fields.
Yep. And in the edge of the forest, you find the Indigo Bunting. We've only seen one of these so far this year. They're just coming in. But look at the bright iridescent blue color. And it is iridescent. Blue in birds is reflected light. And if he was sitting in the shadow, he'd just be a very drab bird. So he wants to sit in the sun and he wants to sing his heart out. And the female Indigo Buntings are just light brown, nondescript. It's really, really amazing that he's so vibrant. Of course, she's camouflaged.
That's
She can
right.
have
That's a
babies.
good thing, right? These, this is a brown thrasher, and these have arrived. We've been seeing them. Larger bird, kind of a rusty brown color, long tail, long bill, speckled chest. And I love their call because they say everything twice. Just in case you don't hear it the first time, they're going to repeat it.
And I
Easy
like
to-
brown thrashers because they're big and very noisy and I can hear them. Talk about, he's big. This is a flycatcher. This is a least flycatcher. There's about
He's
5
little.
different flycatchers that look just like that. They have an eye ring, they have 2 wing bars, and the best way to identify the flycatchers is by their call. Some will say pizza, pizza. Well, the least flycatcher does 2 notes and he says Chebek, Chebek, Chebek really fast.
And we saw our first one of these this morning.
Yeah.
This is another bird that's got that gray and white coloring, a little bit larger than the least. This is an eastern phoebe,
Which is a flycatcher.
right? And the best way to identify them is the call. This one, it's good because he says his name, Phoebe. Isn't that cool?
And if you go out any place, you're going to hear the song sparrow. Song sparrows are little sparrow type birds that can be identified by a spot on its chest and the stripes coming off behind its bill. But the best way to identify them is by their call. Starts with 3 notes and ends up with a trill. The mnemonic device is
Oh, no,
pure
3.
sweet Canada, Canada, Canada. 1, 2, 3. No, not for sure. Hip, 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 hurrah, boys.
That's
Spring
it.
is here.
That's-
She doesn't remember all.
Say it again. What is it supposed to say?
What it's saying is
Hip, hip,
hip, hip,
hurrah.
hip, hip, hurrah, boys. Spring is here. You gotta have an imagination if you're a bird watcher.
And a little house wren. They come and nest in our birdhouses in our backyard. They are cavity nesters. We found out very early on that you don't put your birdhouse too close to the bedroom window because they sing continually. And you can identify him. He's very small and he has little stripes on his wing and little stripes on his tail. And they are just very sweet little birds. Here's the call. It's very melodic and it goes on and on.
Before sunrise, underneath the bedroom window. Whose idea was that? And here's a turkey vulture. They're back. We saw 9 of them in a tree Saturday morning or Monday morning. They were looking for something to eat, I think. We kept moving though. Turkey vultures, silver trailing edge of the wing, red featherless heads, but they're back in big numbers. We must have a lot of dead stuff on the road that we have so many turkey vultures.
And how do you identify them in flight? Don't they look different?
You identify them in flight because they have their wings at an angle in a dihedral, it's called, and they rock back and forth. So if you see a big bird rocking back and forth,
It's
a turkey vulture.
Mhm. Oh, in spring, in April, Usually the American white pelicans are passing through our area, and more people are discovering them. They're just amazing birds. They're only here for a couple weeks and then they move on. Very large bird. Here's a close-up picture. Very large bird, up to what, a 9-foot wingspan, black trailing edges. And look at that huge bill with that little bump right on the end. That's only there during the spring. And then they move farther north to nest. And you find them on water areas.
And these guys are back. We had a couple, we had one in our yard this year, the ruby-throated hummingbird. This is the female with a plain throat. There's the male with his gorget. And they come back and they fight the Baltimore Oreos for our hummingbird feeder.
They do.
What do you put in the hummingbird feeder?
Oh, well, it's very easy. Just a cup of boiling water and 1/4 cup of sugar. And you mix it up until it dissolves. You don't need to add any food color because the red is on the feeder. And every time that it needs to be redone, I wash them out very well and put more fluid in for the birds.
Everybody loves hummingbirds.
Mhm.
And we are members of the Illinois Audubon Society. The local chapter is Kane County Audubon. If you want to find out about any birding events or field trips or what's happening,
Sightings,
there's
yeah.
a sighting section. Go to canecountyaudubon.org. You don't have to be a member to join us in any of our activities. Almost every weekend, there's a trip someplace. The first Saturday of every month, we walk around Nelson Lake, and you're more than welcome to come. We've had a restriction of 10 people per bird walk, but because of shots and whatever, we're opening that up. So check the canecountyaudubon.org to find out. You can get a checklist. In fact, how many birds do you think you just saw? You could look at the checklist and check off about 50 different birds that you've seen. But come out and join us and check them off out on your own.
Mhm.
And we are personally Birds Are Cool presentation. Janet, thanks for inviting us. And the sun's going down, so time to finish our walk because I'm tired. It's been a long walk. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's been very informative. I love seeing all those pictures and hearing the calls. And I know not very many people could make it because of our technical problems, but I will try to get the recording on our YouTube site within a few days.
Okay.
And I will email everyone and let them know. So
Okay, well, thank you.
Well,
thank
thanks.
you.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.